Okay, here we are, Purgatorio again. This is Benevento. This is one of the scenarios that's one of the three that's covered in Guelphs and Ghibellines as well. I kind of remember preferring that system, but it's hard to tell. This one's a lot of fun too. I certainly don't mind having two systems that cover the games. I think I would, if the Guelphs and Ghibellines if it had all the scenarios this had, I might feel a little bit worse about it, but I'm always in favor of seeing more medieval battles happen. You know, I'm curious. I'm just curious whether or not, I don't know who designed this particular one. Game design is Ralph Shelton. I don't know if he's the scenario designer though for this series, for this particular set. I'm assuming Shelton did this entire one. He is not involved in the Guelphs and Ghibellines as far as I recall. It would be kind of funny to have picked two such similar, two systems that are so similar, but I could see doing it because the Men of Iron series has a lot more popularity. This is an interesting battle. It's got some special rules. First of all, on one side is over here is Manfred, the King of Sicily, who is Frederick II's illegitimate son, who seized power from Frederick's grandson, Conradin. And on the other side, we have Charles he's Charles I of Sicily, as per the Pope, but he is Charles of Anjou, who's been installed. Now, talk about, I don't know, a really bad move, right? I know the papacy did not like Manfred for a number of reasons, and viewed him as a threat. But inviting the Bourbon, no, these would not be Bourbons. These would be Capetians still. Inviting the French crown to have its family embroiled in Italy. Wow, that sure caused problems and long-term problems for the papacy. There's no question about that. But anyway, this particular battle, we got an interesting situation. Charles has gotten himself where he would have had to cross this river. His army was low on supplies. He's the Guelphs here. And it was in a really bad position. However, Manfred was also in a tricky position where his allies, his Italian allies, which is his command, were very shaky. He had lost a major battle against Charles already. Well, he had lost a battle against Charles already. And the Allied forces were much more questionable. So that seems to be, according to what this is talking about, the reason that he might have crossed the river and engaged. It seems foolish to me because quite a few of his troops were relatively loyal, but a large portion of his troops are these Italian allies, and they're kind of questionable. Anyway, what we have here is a bunch of Saracen archers. This is, I believe, a force of German mercenaries in particularly heavy armor for the period. Doesn't really show in their numbers, and I don't think I mean, they say the French knights had trouble fighting them until they discovered weaknesses in the armor. They don't appear to be all that particularly strong. If we take a look, they're about the same level as the French knights. Anyway, then we have Ghibelline reinforcements, which can come in on free activations. Not the first one. The first one has to be just the Saracens. And they show up coming in through these hexes, crossing the bridge, whatever. I think the river is uncrossable otherwise. I guess you could put a banner back here and you know, trickle in across the bridge, but that seems stupid. It seems better to put the banners behind things. Whereas, both of these battles are mounted men-at-arms. This is an infantry battle. It has no, so the Saracens have no banner and they have no leader. Not having a leader triggers them on, what the hell is it? Something, we got it somewhere here. Well, 6.4, which I didn't get to look up while I was downstairs reading this. I'm hungry again. They can never be activated by continuity or seizure. They're activated solely. Units of battles without a leader are always out of command. I think I'm still allowed to shoot, which is okay. I can't move adjacent or charge. I wouldn't want to do that. I can't counter or charge. I can't move into an enemy standard or leader. And I can't move if I begin adjacent to an enemy unit. So they've got their problems, but they're decent archer folk. But anyway, this is a huge infantry battle with pavises and crossbowmen interspersed within it. You can rearrange these however you like. I figured it's best to try to have the pavis, the crossbowmen, able to do something. If they were sitting over here, they'd probably just get ignored. The problem with them is, like these, they have no standard. So if they retire, they go away. And then we have two sets of mounted men-at-arms on the field that are reasonable quality. We got some special rules here. The Ghibellines go first, but this has to be the Saracen archers, which are going to move up and deal with the infantry. There's no shield wall rules. This is a timed engagement. The Ghibellines are at 15 because they're pressing the attack. Now, those Saracen archers, some special rules on them. Due to their effectiveness against Italian infantry, they can activate during any free activation that the Ghibelline player uses to enter a reinforcing battle. So I get to bring in a battle and utilize them, thereby speeding things up a little bit. These two activations can be taken in any order, but they're singular things. So I either activate the Saracens, handle them, then go to the men-at-arms, or the other way around. Kind of doesn't matter, to tell you the truth, but whatever. And Charles's stuff, they were chased off by the Saracens and apparently didn't participate in the battle. They're not mentioned later on. They didn't have a leader, so they decided to put anybody who necessarily applied. They decided to put Philip of Montfort. I don't know. He might be used in another battle. There is no banner for Philip, though. So he may just be in this battle. They have two balance options. Oh, the flight levels. The Ghibellines start at a flight level of 15, which is quite low. Those archers Are they 1s or 2s? They're 2 points each. So getting those chased off is dangerous. But they do get additional flight level. 5 for the first battle, Salerno, and then I think 10 more for Manfred. So they've got 30, but the Guelphs start out at 35. They've got their whole army on the field. What else did we? Oh yeah, two game balance options. They have Super Saracens to help the Ghibellines. They can activate the Saracen Archer battle anytime there's a free activation along with another Ghibelline battle. Not a banner, but whatever. That'll allow them a little bit more power. I'm not going to use either of these. The game is favoring the Guelphs, though. And then on the Guelph side, they have this Manfred Slow Ride, which puts a timer so that these enter a little bit later. I'm not going to play with either of those. It feels like the intention was that this is the historical. As opposed to whatever we did last time, where I felt like one of the options... Yeah, the option for whatever this was, Monteperti, felt like they were trying to balance the battle, the game, and maybe went overboard because it ended up being balanced officially in favor of the Guelphs to begin with, right? No, in favor of the Ghibellines to begin with. I found that it was pretty hard for the Ghibellines, but I may have made mistakes with them with the timer extended on the last battle. But anyway, this one looks like an interesting one. I'm going to go read rules to something else before I actually get started, but I wanted to give the intro to the battle after I set it up. Before I even set up, I did some yard work today, so I got something done. I'm up here to play. I'm just, I don't know. I should have gone for a walk or something. I tried sitting out on the porch reading some rules. It was too chilly, and I decided, oh, that makes me tired. I'm going to go back to sleep. So I got some more sleep. Anyhow, here we are in this one. Things have to open up with just these Saracens moving or active to begin with. You know what I haven't done yet? I haven't dealt out my seizures. The Guelphs get 4, the Ghibellines get 3. Funny, while drawing the seizures, and I'll talk about them, the seizure chits, I'll talk about them in a moment. But the damn time thing, this is never going to lose you a game. You know, the only thing that's going to lose you a game is piddling around and not doing anything, not bringing the attack to the enemy, is basically, and that's all it does. And it's huge for that. I mean, you're allowed to fuck around for a long time. Anyway, the Guelphs got some good ones, a couple of seizures, a negation, and an into the breach. I don't know if it can get much better. I guess they could have another seizure, but I usually don't use 2 of them. And the Ghibellines have a couple of seizures. And unsteady troops, which is actually pretty cool. Being able to fuck with disorder a unit. I usually forget to use it. I want to look at this. Battle cry is the rally. See, I'm always confused with this. So like into the breach, it makes sense. We're going in, we're fighting. Okay, that word makes sense to me, but battle cry to me feels more, and I've said this before the first time these counters came up. Battle cry feels more to me, less like a rallying call, and more like that, oh yeah, we're going to hurt them. You know, we're going to hit them harder. And into the breach, you know, thinking it's the once more into the breach, it saying that was to rally the troops. It feels like they're reversed. Neither one really is clear. Like, I'd much rather have one say rally and one say attack bonus instead of going for, it's not like seizure opportunity. It's not like they put something cutesy in there for that, right? Or seizure negation. So fucking get rid of the cutesy shit and just put what the counter does on it, so I don't have to look them up constantly to try to remember, is Into the Breach a rally or is Battle Cry the rally? Like, Into the Breach, I'm kind of remembering, but if I drew just a Battle Cry and I didn't remember the Into the Breach, I think I would have trouble. Anyway, what are we doing here? Well, we want to get close, but we can't get too close. Okay, that's pretty easy. These are all infantry. I don't really want to shoot crossbowmen because they'll shoot back and they're behind pavises. Unfortunately, I think this means I have to shift my forces. And I'm going to be doing this with each unit, moving it up. So this one's going to attack. We'll do one example because I haven't done like a line of archers like this before. We're at range 2, that's a 0 for archers. I don't think I have anything that impacts me here. So it's just going to be a normal roll. You don't actually add the shock defense or anything like that against a normal foot unit in this case. And actually, in a way, I'd be better off hitting the -1 guys because they're better protected against shock. But yeah, I think I will. I think I'll shoot him. Why pick on the decent stuff? I don't know. It doesn't make much difference. But yeah, this is a particularly weak piece. Let's shoot at that -1. Because if I can disorder it, I get a no effect. If I can disorder it, I get something else. Now, with so many units, the little fired markers might make sense. What I feel would kind of make sense in this game is a move marker. Because that would encompass the firing. This has a no move, no fire. I could use these for that, but they feel kind of weird for it. Usually, I don't have too much of a problem with it. But having a handful of such counters may work here and there. Certainly, it doesn't matter here. We were able to destroy one of those units. It took 3 of our archers to do it. But I guess the big thing about it is that's a couple of these points. That's why the Guelphs need so many points, because this line is really susceptible to these archers. Another big thing is that this guy took a retired result. These two took eliminations, but they have no flag, so they die from that. Again, that creates points. But of course, that's the danger with these. Now I get a continuation chance. And given how hard... So this is a continuation on a 3 or better. I don't really want those moving forward. Given how unlikely I am to use seizures so far in the game, I'm going to drop a seizure check. I don't have a negation on this side. I'm going to try, I guess, to move the infantry up. Not really like, I kind of don't even want the infantry to fight. I want them to just run away, maybe. I don't get it. That gets me, unfortunately, a free activation, which means I can bring in reinforcements and these guys get another turn. Oops, that was a mistake, right? I had a 70% chance of getting the seizure minus a negation check, and there was only a 40% chance of him getting a successful continuation. Again, the seizure markers, man, they're really iffy, really iffy. Because I'm not really moving before firing, at least so far, I'm just marking the last guy who fired with the fired marker. Again, I don't need this many fired markers. There's something else on the other side the engaged markers. So that's fine, you know. This little force coming in, because this was a free activation because of failed seizure, this doesn't cost me anything over there. Now I get a continuation. I'm assuming I can't continue with this, and these guys cannot continue. So I go over to the reds. But now I have two battles in two regular battles that I can alternate back and forth with. Only having one, I think I'm allowed to continue with it, but it's kind of feels weird. And I get a continuation. This is not a big deal from his point of view. His big, well, why was it last time? I don't know. But we're going to shift the reds in this direction to take this flank. Now that means I can't bring them in. It's not a free activation. The only way I could get that is if I do this and it fucks up again. And that doesn't look, I don't know. I feel like, oh, I brought one in. This was the one that's worth 5. So we're up to 20 now. I think I let him try again. This time at a 2, which doesn't get. So now I get my free activation here. I have to check. I'm not sure if the archer, I don't think the archers have any kind of withdrawal capability, but I have to make absolute certain. They're susceptible to this, to the infantry, but they do get to shoot the shit out of the infantry. That's the one problem. And I have a command and control issue. 1, 2, 3, 4. These units are out of command and control. I've lost so many there. Everything else is. I don't really want to commit my mounted men yet. Like trying to bring them around or something puts me in kind of a clumsy position. In addition, it opens me up to being weakened when these come through. The problem is the archers get a reaction fire pretty much whatever I do. Now I'm going to try to soften them up a little bit with my crossbowmen. First of all, behind the pavises, one reason I have my crossbowmen spaced out like this is that it's not really to their advantage to mass fire the way the Saracens have tried to do, where, you know, I'm trying to make sure that I get 2 or 3 shots on every unit, so that I, three optimally, so that, you know, I get a chance at doing this. And then if I miss with a unit, I switch, and that's why we have this gap here, because he doesn't have to have any command and control, so he has no leader. I switch my unit and go after something else that I can get a good shot at or whatever. Anyway, because I've got the infantry to move up and engage, I don't really have to worry as much, and I can just use the crossbowmen to soften things up. No good results with the crossbowmen. They have a little bit of a penalty because they're firing around the pavises, and now I have to consider one thing that I do have to think about is keeping my units in command. These guys obviously are going to shift, but other guys, I don't want to go sending them off way out into the distance. But then again, they have to attack 2 units if I'm hitting someplace like here. I should be careful. I've kind of cheated and moved 2 units forward. Before I move, I moved this guy forward first. Before I move the second guy, let's leave him back here and think about him. I get the shot here. Now that's a range 1 fire, so I've got a +1 on that. I don't think I get anything special there. So a 1 isn't going to hurt. Here, moving into here, I actually get 2 shots, both at that +1. And that, he's both at normal. I don't get to do the other side of it, if I'm correct. So I think all I get is a disorder on this unit. he probably doesn't want to shock because of that. Let me make sure that these are not sequentially applied, but I'm pretty certain that they're applied simultaneously. I don't get the double fire. Forget about that. I vaguely thought that might be the case after I said what I said. Yeah, but well, I would have used the yellow, which since both were hitting as a disorder, I get the disorder anyway. This unit will recover, and then this unit will recover. I want to get these closer. And so I'm only going to have one shock combat because this guy got shot up. I don't want to attack with a disordered unit. That's got a penalty on it. And I don't have to attack. Actually, Pike attacking Archer is a +2. That negates the disorder penalty. I'd still be looking at multiple units. I don't know. Because when you attack, the worst that kind of happens is you get a disorder, which do not accumulate. Let me make sure that I'm allowed to attack when disordered. There's a penalty for attacking when disordered, so I would assume that you are. But there are some cases where you're allowed to attack when disordered, when you must attack when disordered. For example, horses coming in with a charge or whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to attack. Yeah, so I might as well do this shock then. Might as well. And we can take a quick look at that. So that +2 negates my disorder. I have a -1, so this is going to be at 0. This one is going to be, though, at +2, which is kind of good for me. So there's no result. But it does do something. I've got an engaged there. But this one was at a 0. Chances are I'm engaged on both, so. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so anyway, that engaged would go away anyway, because I've fallen back disordered. And then I might as well take care of this one too. This one will be a +4. And I shot at him as well, I think. I certainly should have, and didn't do any damage. That's gonna disorder and retreat this. So I go in. That was purple's free activation. There's a clutter here. You might make an argument that bringing this wing up this way might make more sense. But I don't know. Yeah, because I've got this flag here. You know what? I'm going to try my continuation here. Do I care about that? Not terribly. Because it's not going to happen anyway. That gets me a free activation, which means I'll be able to bring another battle in, as well as activate my archers. Do I want to do that right away? I think I'll pause. The Ghibellines launch their Saracen archers. These guys can't move away, but they can still turn and shoot. I probably shouldn't have moved these out here, but we killed a bunch more of the infantry. It's pretty much wrecked. Not that that's a concept or anything. As long as he's around, he can still keep commanding them. But the leader actually has a replacement, which is a weird thing, because it was kind of an unnamed, it was kind of a random leader they selected, and the rules for this are so weird that I would have actually expected him not to have a replacement. But yeah, he took the injury, which is another 2 points. We've got the Guelphs way down there now in terms of... this is a battle that, because of the Saracens and those infantry, the two together, I feel like those flight points are just disappearing really, really quickly. Now I get to bring this command in. I'm thinking that I'm going to concentrate the reds on the left flank. I'm going to actually bring this black command, which is relatively large. Keep the blue more in reserve. I'm going to bring the black in to the right of the red guys. That's where they came in. They have these light archers, the cav archers, who are able to withdraw. They're able to fire during movement. All kinds of interesting stuff there. Now that puts me on a continuation. I'm torn. I don't feel like there's a good use for these. Similarly to, like, I've got all these archers in my way and I can't ride through them. Similarly to the reason why these didn't go, I think I'm going to go and try to move the blue command. I don't see a point to trying to seize that. If anything, once you get three battles up there in line, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Of course, you might be facing less enemy forces, which puts you at an advantage, obviously, in exchange for the command disadvantage of having so many up there. On the other hand, you might be facing just as many, in which case it's sort of balanced. So it's not a bad thing to have the extra battle up there. It's just very easy to switch 1-2, 1-2 all the time. And we actually get a continuation there. That's going to move this up. For similar reasons as before, as well as because this flank is less cluttered with those archers, I'm going to go back to here. Now this is at -1. That doesn't happen, and we end up back over here. Oh, that brought another 10 in. So unfortunately, doesn't line up by 10s, but it's close. There's 9. Wait, that can't be. There's 11 per. Wow, that's just weird. Okay. What do the Guelphs want to do? And I also think about the Into the Breach. That's a bonus in attack. The only thing that I can do with these infantry is on a free activation. So I have to kind of decide, do I want that free activation? The iffy crossbow fire might be able to flee. That might actually be my best move. This guy can't. And if he attacks, he's hitting 2, but that's not terrible. See, again, I could bring these cav in, especially since the archers have gotten here, and really kind of start mowing them down. But that might disorder me a little bit in terms of this command hitting me. I feel like the Ghibellines have the advantage in this. They say the Guelphs do. Sure doesn't feel like it this time. All these points, man. And now I've got 3 heavy cav wings against 2. I've got more pieces among those 3 as well. I've got a couple of bigger forces. Damn. I think I'm going to go with the infantry. It may be a mistake, but simply because it gives me an opportunity. I'm allowed to shift. I don't think I want to. I want to try to swing at both of them. It gives me an opportunity to kill more of these archers, clear out some of my infantry maybe out of the way, and get the advance there. I don't know. I really don't know. Well, have been somewhat effective. I managed to disorder a couple of units, not this one, unfortunately, but and now I'll go with the regular movement. should clean things up pretty easily. This is funny because I think they say this is a 2-hour battle. See, about 2 hours on this, whereas the last one, Monteperti, they say 3.5 hours. This feels short. I'm not sure. But these are just running down so fast with deaths. Not, you know, the auto deaths are really speeding this thing up. Well, we did a fair amount of damage against those archers in the center, clearing them out. Of course, my pike are in danger now, but the points have gone down quite a bit on the Ghibellines, but these were worth a lot still. I mean, the pike and the archers, they're both worth 2 each, I hope. Yeah. Yeah, there's... that puts me on a potential continuation. I think I'm going to fire these guys off. And again, I don't think that's worth getting rid of a seizure for. And that swings it back over here. Now life is harder because these archers no longer combine with anything. But they're valuable. Especially against the infantry. I don't know. How's a mounted man-at-arms versus a crossbow? That's a pretty decent bonus, but the Pavis does give them a defensive bonus, right? Does it give them a -2? No, it only gives them a -1 for, even though it says -2 on it, only gives them a -1 for shock. Ugh. I could get in range to charge. I don't know. Firing the archers. Is it worth it? Got potential fire at the mounted troops too, which could soften them up a little. I think I'm going to go with the archers, to be honest. Scattering my fire all over the place, so I'm actually using the fired markers. It's one of the few cases where I think I'll use a fair amount of them. We fired them all off and we got a pretty good result, I guess. I mean, we could have done a lot better. Some of the fire was ineffectual this time. It's been pretty effectual so far. We got the Guelphs down to 13 though, which is pretty potent. I could mingle in and destroy this stuff. Why is he off? Or I could launch charges against the flank there. I think I'm gonna try to bring the blues in. Now, how big a danger is this? I mean, oh, I lost one of my crossbowmen too. If this is a seizure, this guy's not a bad choice because he's not great at getting continuations, but I can't pull out everywhere. Like this guy's kind of stuck behind. Like I think I'm gonna go for a continuation here. The question is, do I want to do a seizure? I could smash the archers, there's no question of that. I don't feel like I'd be as disrupted if I do. So we're looking at a 40% versus an 80%. That's a pretty big difference. I'm going to try to seize. He does not have a negation. Of course, this could give me another shot with the archers, get some more kills in with them. I don't know if that's particularly important, but it feels valuable to me. But no, that seizure will work. This guy's not disordered. I shouldn't roll on the map, I guess. And what did we want to do it with? That was the question. I think we wanted to do it with these guys. These are all going to be charges with move. I actually think I want him up front here instead of where I have him. These are all going to be charges with move, and that's a big deal because when they charge in, I get the reaction fire against them. Let me make sure that that does not have to be up the front. Has to be front. Crap. What doesn't? I think return fire doesn't have to be. Okay. So not all of these archers are going to get a shot because I'm making a lot of attacks from the rear. Using regular charge markers, these all moved. So they're all going to have that -1 penalty. I think every attack is going to be unanswered by fire. Let me make sure. Reaction fire when any enemy unit moves to an adjacent frontal hex. And I'm not allowed to turn. Okay. Is there like a reaction move? I seem to remember there was a reaction move, but I may be confusing this with like musket and pike or something like that. Or maybe there was, and it's been removed. These attacks are ridiculous. So against the archer, it's +3, +4, +5 due to coming in on a flank. Make it +4 there, I guess. On the charge versus disorder, I guess a 0 is the worst I could get. I mean, I'm going to destroy every single one of these. Do one of them. And, oh. So that's an 11. That's going to give me the continued attack. That's basically what I'm looking to see if I get. It's not going to matter here, but something wrong on that first one, which got the highest result anyway. I remembered I was saying like +5. It's +3. This guy was disordered. +6, +7, +8 would be +7, which is pretty much what I have against this guy as well. I think I said +4, +5, which I forgot about the flank head or something. I don't know what. They're potent. I mean, if I've got like a +6 or +7, I'm probably going to get here on an 8 or higher, which gives me the continued attack, which means I can finish them off. Because when units aren't disordered, they don't get killed. And they don't even get retired, usually, ever. But the continued attacks give me a guaranteed another shot at them. One thing I miss from the musket and pike stuff is the sort of swirling cav activity where charges and counter charges are happening and all kind of shit's going on. Here, yeah, you've got the counter charge, but it's not like this cav is protecting these guys. Now, that may be because the cav is heavy knights and that they're not able to react quickly the way those later cav units were, or the way cav units were able to, say, in the Ancients period, as opposed to the medieval. Certainly, though, you know, something like this is light enough, it could react more, but it's kind of, I feel like it's baked into the pulsing and the continuations and all that, instead of being as directly apparent. Although I walk away from the musket and pike not sure I'm doing things right some of the times, in the sense that the chaos of the cav fighting almost feels like too much, but it also feels really believable when I see it. Whereas this feels like they're not able to interdict the enemy in quite the same way. Should be a continuation, by the way. And now this charge has wiped out most of the archers. There's still a couple back here. Not really a functioning thing. Probably just leave them where they are, much like the infantry. But I do see the penalty, and maybe this is where the interference happens, is if you place your cav right behind the line that's being charged, you get something of a counter, because he has to attack these now at a penalty. So he's got the continued attack -2. I mean, he could show his ass if he wanted to. He's got to continue with the -2, and he's facing the strength disadvantage. That brings me to -3, and this guy's -4. Let's do the -3 first. It's just a normal shock, of course. It's a 4. That's going to be an engaged, and the other one was a -4. Which is a disordered and retreat, which gets rid of the engaged. So we get flung back. It's not a high price to pay. Look at all the points that I just made up. I made the game even. That gives me another continuation chance. I'm going to go over here. I don't feel like that's worth trumping. So that's a 3. Oh no, I trumped in to move those guys, didn't I? Okay, so that's actually a 4. I don't get it. That's going to put the command over here. I could move the archers. I almost certainly do not want to. This feels like my most effective attack is with that red wing. I'm going to put these guys close to that so that I understand that, although I think it's going to be pretty clear because I want to take a break. I have to do something I don't normally do. Usually I remember systems well enough that I can kind of feel, get a feel for the differences, etc. But I decided to pull up my video on Guelphs and Ghibellines. Now this is from a much earlier era, when I went into less detail on the play-by-play than I'm doing with this. So it's a little sketchy, but there's a few weird things. First of all, the map is significantly different. There's a lot more terrain. It's not just this hill here. It covers behind the river more and a joining of the river. It's designed as a meeting engagement. One thing that I immediately noticed was, wow, Guelphs and Ghibellines is significantly more complex than anything in the Men of Iron series. It's got all kind of neat stuff going on it. You have to roll dice for activations and stuff like that. It's not just a more detailed version of this. That was kind of the feeling that I had when I first my first memories of it. But man, it is a significantly more detailed game. But anyway, you have a lot more flexibility in the Benevento scenario. And there are some options. But like the Saracens have significant different choices of what they're doing. Now, got Philip of Montfort. I was thinking it was Simon of Montfort that was present there. From that game, I keep calling him Simon, but maybe he's just Montfort on there. But anyway, he's the one who they say probably wasn't actually in command, right? Like, he was probably back with Hugh. who is this command? Anyway, and they give him the infantry. They don't give him the infantry in Benevento, whoever Montfort is, Simon or Hugh. They're putting in charge of... now I'm confused. My Guelphs have a green. Did I leave some troops out? 4 Guelph mounted men-at-arms at 1206 to 1209. Fuck. It's running down here. I left some troops off the board. How'd that happen? I knew he was here. Oh no, that's Hugh. No, wait, yeah, I didn't put him in there. Okay, we're gonna throw some more Guelphs on the board. Surprise! A small wing of cavalry, and that's making things look a little bit better for the Guelphs. But still, this is the key. It's the points here. You're not going to be able to bring your battles into play if you don't have the points. Yeah, so the battle that I'm seeing develop is very, very different in the Guelphs and Ghibellines game, but it's because it gave me a lot more options, pushing the Saracens forward as a screen, getting the troops across the river. That's all a factor in that, as opposed to here where you're just kind of getting things for free while these guys are doing their job. I also had the infantry further back, it seemed. It may be that this hill is kind of in play in it. All kind of interesting stuff. Anyway, these guys, what about the effect that they just had showing up? Well, I don't think it's that much. These two battles, the blue and the orange, were in front of it. Seeing as I didn't move the black battle yet, I don't think I've really given anything up. This is the more effective one that I would go for continuations with. It all makes sense to me. So I'm not too unhappy. Now, obviously, the blue is the fucking infantry. They're not doing shit. I think I may have rolled on this. I would have maybe rolled on this. I'm not sure, because this is a bigger battle, and it would be appealing to throw it into play instead. Anyway, I'm going to continue watching that video, see how it kind of turns out. But man, the play of the game is much, much more detailed, and I'm kind of bumbling through it because I was away for a while between battles in it. Plus, there were lots of special rules for this scenario. Maybe for all the scenarios, I don't really remember. I remember I rated the system very highly, like an 8. I'm not sure where I rated this, probably somewhere close to that. But there are definitely different views of the medieval warfare. And yeah, but I think a little bit more detail, well, a lot more detail in the G&G. Say something. The Guelphs and Ghibellines game, the Saracens were a lot less effective. The infantry was remaining and a usable factor in the battle. The Guelph infantry here, the blue line stuff. And I made the strange comment, watching me play it, I'm like, wow, this is a complicated system and it looks like it's taking a lot of time. But I did come up with, for some reason or another, the statement, first of all, that it is kind of like a simple Great Battles of History, which I'm okay with, you know, like, that puts me it's in the sort of same middle range, but when I was first watching the Guelphs and Ghibellines battle, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. There's a lot of complexity going on, but I think it's smoother than Great Battles of History is. Although maybe there's more layering of some complexity of what's going on in terms of like how you activate units and whatnot and how victory points are scored is all very cumbersome seeming. But I said, I think it's quicker than the Man of Iron stuff. Now, it might be just, because of how quickly the battle like just sort of developed and smashed. But this one is also, getting there really fast. So I don't know. The one thing that I saw in it was that the Ghibellines felt like they had a really, really hard time getting around to being able to win this. Now, that does not feel, it feels like it's up in the air in this scenario. I felt like the Guelphs and Ghibellines version of Benevento was a really hard scenario for the Ghibellines. They have a lot of options as to how to start the battle and everything, but there's also like special rules where Manfred or whatever, who it is, yeah, Manfred, has to kind of do what he did historically, which is why he's on the field here, is that he charged forward, and he also insisted, I don't remember where they put it, that like, King Manfred made the choice to die in battle rather than flee and live in disgrace, which is very much, it's got a special role in the other game. In this game, it's why you're having the fight where you are, as opposed to that. These things are Italian knights. They're his allied forces. And I was afraid to use them and kind of kept them out of the combat entirely because they were likely to fall apart. They don't look particularly, they look a little worse than everything else. But these heavy Germans, they had special rules of multiple kinds, like they can't charge in that game. So, like, there's definitely more detail going on, despite whatever I'm saying about it being simpler. Anyway, I figure if I'm up here, I might as well, I guess, launch this attack. About what I've decided to do. I go into a lot more detail nowadays than I used to. I decided I'm going to hit the infantry here. Hey, it's worth points. Double team this, bang, hitting an infantry. Hey, maybe I don't charge. Charge. Moved up here, I was going to charge this. I could actually go in there instead if I want to, because I can't figure out what I want to do with this guy. I could double team this disordered unit. It can't countercharge me, so I know what it's going to face. It is going to be a straight up charge from here. If I move him, I add a -1, I take that out with the +1, but I also add a +4. A +4 on the disordered charge means I'm pretty much going to knock this unit out of play. It might just be retired. Whereas a +1 charge that might get countered, in which case it'll be a +0 shock, doesn't seem all that advantageous. So I think, now let me see what I'm doing. I'm doing boink, boink. That's these two hexes. Boink, boink, boink. He has to move if he's going to hit this in the flank. So I'll move him up there and put that into play. And so I'll hit the front units. I want to do as much damage as I can here. If I can really weaken this, the infantry is just points. But if I can really weaken his cav instead, I can maybe make this battle not worth doing, but maybe something that he feels he has to do to try to save it, because points are going to be low. So I'm kind of looking along those lines. Charges were blunted. See what they do. And this is kind of impact. The ordering might be important. Okay, so here where they were blunted, they all kind of became engaged. But I have a continued attack coming in here. And another one coming in from the rear here. It's not going to be as devastating as I had hoped. We have dropped some points though. This is a Ghibelline turn. And that means on the next free activation, the Guelphs are in some trouble. They don't have any retired units, so they don't have any easy points to get. These were all kills, what went. We killed a pike and one of the men-at-arms. We'll see what else happens, but they're, I don't know. Anyway, I probably should have played my unsteady troops. I can't play it now. I would like to weaken that. The Into the Breach wouldn't have mattered. Oops. I have to say is, what a mess. Everybody's engaged. Without the engaged, I don't know. I feel like the game loses something. It feels like a good addition to it. That puts me on a continuation. Now, he doesn't have any more seizures. So, what do I want to continue with? Can't do it with my archers. These guys are facing the wrong way. I could try to do it here. See if I can kill a couple of those infantry. I cannot. That puts me on a free activation, a dangerous one, one that could end the game. Do I have to do this? The infantry is not interesting. Yeah, I'd like to turn these guys around, whatever. The infantry is not interesting, which means I'm leaving this damn pikeman behind. I'm not going to be able to get out of here. But these wings can't help me, or battles can't help me. They're in line, you know. they're not able to swing up and do anything valuable. What I want to do is like swing through here and outflank and all. I mean, I could charge this unit. That does not seem worth it. So I think I've got to go with these guys and got to try to pull back and recover what I can of them. That is pretty much what it looks like. A couple of demoralized or disordered units that I have to fix, and then a charge coming in here that I can't react to, but that'll give me a decent attack. Let's just take a look at that. It's +1 for size, -2 for those heavily armored German knights. Brings me to a -1, but then +4 for angles of attack, which brings me to a +3 on a charge against normal unit. And that's a big 4. The defender's going to be disordered, and we'll get another engaged. It's on an 8 or a 9 I lose, but I'm not positive. Might just be on a 9. Doesn't happen. I have a continuation possibility into the breach. Maybe I wanted to. I don't know. I can never remember these things. I just activated him. I could activate blue, pull this out, do some firing, or try to bring a wing in. This guy's not very likely. Let's try to bring this in. I don't care to seize this. I'll care to seize that if I get a continuation here. But I don't. That gets me a free activation. I need to move these because I got to fall back with the disordered stuff and try to clear those orangies out of there. Part of this mess I can fix. he withdrew from his engage, but I just left it there because, again, it's so cluttered. That actually is really helpful. Yeah, red is very appealing now. These fights, here we're going to charge. He's going to try to countercharge to get rid of that multi-angle attack. Yeah, that's going to work. So this becomes just a shock. And now it's just a +1 for the extra unit as opposed to what it was. All right, let's fight. Kill something else. Pushed and disordered here, still locked here, but that kill got me continued attack coming in there. Let's take a quick look. +1 for leader, +2, +3 for flank against a disordered. Not terrible. That's a 12, that's going to eliminate him. Another continued attack, but that's not really an issue. He's facing the wrong way now, terrible. That's another mounted man-at-arms. That's another 3 points. This is the end of a free activation. And that is the end of the game as well. The Guelphs were just destroyed here. I mean, I don't know. It feels like there weren't enough flight points, to be honest, because the Saracens and the stupid pike, which are really, really vulnerable, were both so easy to destroy. That certainly didn't feel the same way in Guelphs and Ghibellines. It also didn't feel like they decided the battle. Like, it's the points from them that dropped both guys down to the, oh, we can't really afford to fight anymore point. Honestly, it might make more sense, I don't know, because the archers are so valuable, like they're so easy to kill and get points off of. But it might make more sense to fall back with your infantry and just, you know, concentrate on getting those horses up into play where, I mean, the archers should not be able to hold up against the horses. Although it could cause some issues. And that may be the lesson of this scenario is, you know, you've got these stupid, huge victory point piles. Both players do. That's why it's tempting to beat up on the archers. Because, look, I killed a pile of archers, almost as many as they killed of my pike. And that was almost all my infantry doing the job, which is not what the scenario describes. The scenario describes the archers basically wipe out the infantry, and then the Guelph cavalry wipes out the archers, and then they fight for real. Well, there's not time for that. Once you kill these things off, look, I only was able to lose 2 men-at-arms. And I was already at the you're dead point. I feel like the flight levels are just not reasonable on this. Maybe another 10 points or something to allow for the cav battle. If we look, so we talk about the Saracen archers attack the infantry, the French battle. The first French battle charges and scatters the Saracens. After this, the infantry disappear. Charles's Germans and his Provençal then clashed with the heavily armored Germans. Well, we couldn't bring everything up. Who were early adopters. Now outnumbered, the Germans, after holding on, begin to waver. Manfred's second line was late to reinforce. I mean, there was no chance for Manfred to go charging into battle or anything like that. The battle was decided by these points plus 3 cav. And it feels to me like the thing I'd want to do is either reduce the points that the infantry and the archers provide, or give a lot more flight points because I really want to see the cav battle develop, right? That historically did. It does in the Guelphs and Ghibellines, at least in the playthrough I had, to some extent. You know, it isn't like all the cav had to be wiped out or anything, but a real cav battle happened. Here we had 2 battles hit each other, and that's it. And by the time that happened, it was over. And I'm very, very disappointed. I think I'm going to pencil in that those flight levels should be like 10 higher. It's definitely missing. I went down to load this up, but from that was in the Guelphs and Ghibellines was this whole concept of like the Saracens moving forward and actually screening the cav so that you could bring it up into play without getting hurt. That doesn't factor into the discussion here, but there's a lot less flexibility in this game as to what you can kind of choose to do as to the hard calls that you have to make, especially with the Ghibellines. Maybe there are harder calls with the Guelphs in this one, I'm not sure, because they're kind of scripted into not being able to activate. There's like reserve rolls and that, and they lock you into place where you can't do stuff. You have to like take a free activation or something. I don't know. I don't remember what it is. I'm trying to piece it together from what little information I gave during the battle itself, as opposed to like I didn't watch my rules intro or anything. But I definitely was aware of the fact that I wanted to use these Saracens as a screen to allow my forces to cross the river safely. I know that there was a force up close up here. It's kind of funny. Again, I think the scale of the map is very different as well, though. So this may be capturing just, I don't know. I was going to say just the end of the battle or whatever. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely feel like what I played with the Guelphs and Ghibellines was a more interesting scenario. This would be more interesting with those added points, and that's why I wrote this in. If I ever do play this again, I want to boost those points, because this was just like, yeah, just not enough. And no way this is what they say, 2 hours. Yeah, this is not a 2-hour battle. Maybe my video is, but yeah, the points just evaporated so damn fast. All right, up it goes.